Hi everybody, my name is Suzanne Lyons and welcome back to my YouTube series. We are now on tip number 5 and this series is called Funding Your Feature Film, How to Raise Money for Your Feature Films. I love this topic. I could go on forever about this topic, but we've limited to 12, luckily for all of you guys. And as last week, I have Anne-Marie Gillen here. As I promised all of you, I locked the door last week and kept her here. Actually, no, it hasn't been a whole week, but here's the thing. What we noticed today is going to be about talent.
Right.
And is it important in your film? Is having, marketable talent important or not important? Whatever. But before we get into it, when Anne-Marie and I were chatting about the last tip, when we brought you last week, tip number 4, about having a sales presentation and the importance of having a sales presentation, we kind of got into a chat afterwards and got very excited about some of these other elements. And before we launch into today's topic about having talent or not in your project, I want to hand this over to Anne-Marie again, who, by the way, is the founder and CEO of the Gillen Group, wonderful consultant in that regard as well, and also a producer, an executive producer in her own right, with some very well-known movies like Under Suspicion and Fried Green Tomatoes and many others. But because she had such brilliant ideas that we didn't get to share with you last week, I want to hand it over to you and let you share a little bit to them what you were talking to me about.
Well, there were 2 more tips that we talked about that we really wanted to share with you.
Okay.
And the first one is, and I did this with my last movie, this is how we raised our money.
And what was the name of the last movie?
The last movie was Into Temptation.
Into Temptation.
Jeremy Sisto, Kristen Chenoweth, and Brian Baumgarten.
Okay, wow.
And it's a beautifully written piece, so it's really all about the character and dialogue. So you really need that type of piece for this to work. But what we did is for our sales presentations, for our potential investors, we did 3 staged readings.
3 stage readings.
Right.
Okay.
So we rented a theater. Uh-huh. We brought in professional actors. We did 2 of them in Minneapolis and 1 in New York.
2 in Minneapolis, 1 in New York.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The film was made almost entirely in Minneapolis.
Oh, God. All right. I hear
And if anybody knows anything about Minneapolis, you've got the Guthrie Theater, and it's a really strong theater town. So we had great acting pool to choose from.
Nice.
So it wasn't our leads.
Yeah,
it was just wonderful actors. And we had like we talked last week, we had our sales team, we had our attorney, we had our director and our production designer there, and we gave our own little intros, and then we did a staged reading of the play. And they were touched, moved, and inspired that they got their checkbook out. So it's really a great model to use for a comedy, for a drama, for something that's character-driven. If it's action or horror, it probably might not work as well because those are visual. And it was so, if you don't mind me letting people know about this.
I'm so excited about this idea.
Yeah.
So it's not just, it's adding to the sales presentation. Yes, it's having the team there, and yes, it's doing whatever you would do in the sales presentation, but it's also having them hear the screenplay with professional actors. So they're getting totally enrolled, especially if the script, like you said, lends itself to this type of a read.
Exactly.
Oh my God, this is so good. This is so good. I'm going to steal this idea. I love it. Okay, I've already done it.
And I thought it worked so well that I'm on the board of a theater company in Los Angeles called the Open Fist.
Yeah, I know.
So Gillen Group and Open Fist created a new program specifically for this, and we call it S2S, which is stage to screen.
Stage to screen.
Yeah, so you actually raise the money and do the reading on a stage in order to get to screen on it.
Kind of like what you did in Minneapolis, except here I got it.
You can rent the theater. They have their own professional ensemble actors if you need actors. They have directors if you need directors. They have a beautiful lobby for pre and post show reception if you need it. It's all one-stop shop for $500.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So I just wanted people to know about that.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love
so
it.
you can reach out to the Open Fist. And the second tip that I wanted to bring up to everybody is, and I do this with my clients and with myself as well, obviously film is a visual medium. So if you can put together a trailer, a proof of concept of some kind, if there's something visually interesting that they might not get just by talking about it, if there's a special effect or something that you're going to have to prove. Well, how can you do that for that low a budget?
Right.
You know, there's a number of ways that you can do this, and it shouldn't be longer than 3 tops 5 minutes.
Okay.
And you may even be interviewing some of your key talent or personnel that might not be able to make these events.
Oh my God.
So they can have their presence known. Another thing that's really good about that is many times the people in the room aren't necessarily the only person that has to say yes, and they're going to have to turn around and sell it to somebody else.
That's right.
Now, you're not going to want them to try to recreate what you're saying and your passion and your vision. If you've got that DVD with that trailer, that proof of concept, those interviews, they can then take that back and show it to their person who can say yes.
Oh my God.
And they're getting it directly from you. So I just wanted to share those other 2 tips.
That's fantastic. It's so fantastic. It's so good. I wish I'd interview you for my book, even though you have your own. You have your own book. What am I saying?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. So, what's the name of your book again?
It's the Producer's Business Handbook, Roadmap for the Balanced Producer.
And is what you're saying is the stuff you're sharing with us?
It's all in there in spades and even more.
All right, good. All right, I can relax because it's. I mean, or you can watch this over and over and over again, which is fine. But then go and buy the book.
Right.
Okay. Good.
Exactly.
This is so great because I interviewed quite a few people for my book on alternative forms of distribution and that, but I never interview people regarding this kind of thing. And I'm sorry now that I didn't, because these added things, even though I think I have 14 tips in my book on ways to raise money, but this is good. This is like adding so much more. So I'm so happy that we're doing these tips, and I'm really happy that I invited you. This is so great.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So now let's get to tip number 5, which is talent.
Yes.
Do I need talent or not?
Well, the quick answer is in almost every case, yes.
Okay.
But it has to be the right talent.
Yeah.
And if it's a genre like a horror or something, most of the times you don't need talent.
So if I have a giant spider in my horror film, the giant spider is probably okay.
Exactly.
I don't need Tom Cruise.
You don't need Tom Cruise to sell it. Right.
Yeah.
But if you've got a comedy, if you've got a drama, if you've got any of these other genres, talent becomes very, very key.
Okay.
But again, I stress it has to be the right talent. And this is where I see a lot of beginners stumbling. They may be able to get to a C, B level talent, and then they do get them attached and everything, but then they go into the marketplace to who their buyers are, which is the distributors and the foreign sales agents, and they're going, well, that's not going to help us at all.
Right.
And now you have this person attached. You can't get rid of them, and you've got egg on your face and they're not quite what you need. So you have to go about it very methodically.
Exactly.
And the first thing you do is put together a very intelligent hit list.
Okay.
And you can do this a number of different ways. One, you could work with a casting director, which I highly recommend if you have access to casting directors or have any budget to develop and do this sort of thing. They really know who's out there, who's looking, who's in a series, who's got a window, just all this stuff. Who's breaking in a big movie that you won't even know yet, but by the time your movie would be in production, you've got the hottest ticket on the planet.
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then once you've done your list and vetted it against their list, you still need to vet it against a sales agent or a distributor.
And that's something that I push all the time. Talk to your sales agents. Go
Absolutely.
to AFM, know your market, know your sales agents, call them and say,
I don't even trust myself when I've been doing this for 25 years.
Me neither. In fact, I've wrote that in my book, and I've shared it many times on my YouTubes, is as soon as I come up with my list, whether it's through myself and my director or a sales agent, a casting director or whatever, I don't care. I still need to run it by a sales agent.
Absolutely.
I have to run it by a sales agent because they're really the people out there selling territories, all the territories in the world.
Right.
They know who's selling what territories.
Right, and they'll know what territory they're strongest in.
There you go.
So if you have something that is going to work really well in the UK or Spain or France or Italy or Japan or whatever, you're going to want to know what talent is really going to sing for them and play in that market.
That's
so it's just knowledge that makes you more powerful as you move through the process.
Got it.
So, but I always say talent is key. Now, when I have to do a low budget or even an ultra low budget movie,
which I've done some of both,
everything gets down to, and this whole series is based on, you have a great script to begin with.
Yeah.
And this isn't about how you get to a great script.
Got it. No.
But you have to have a great script. Even 3-5 years ago, in the foreign market, when you try to do pre-sales or raise your money, they would just look at the package.
Huh.
The third consideration would be the script. Now, it's the script.
Really?
They read the script first out of the gate, and it's all based on the script.
Wow.
So script is even more important than it ever was. So your script has to be brilliant. Not good, guys. Not almost there. It has to be brilliant. So what I'm going to say from this point forward is based on that fact. So you've got a brilliant script.
Yeah.
So now what you want to do in these lower budget movies is you think out of the box.
Okay.
Let me give you an example. Okay. Into Temptation. We were able to get some really key talent for a lot less money because I thought out of the box. The movie, just quickly, is about a Catholic priest who tries to save the life of a suicidal prostitute.
Okay.
So we cast Kristen Chenoweth as the suicidal prostitute. Now, if anybody knows Kristen Chenoweth, she's a Broadway diva, cutie patootie. No one would think of that for her. I had my assistant do a whole series of who's Christian and Catholic actors out there. Because I thought, okay, they might think a little differently. It won't just be about the paycheck.
Interesting.
So her name came up. So I went to my casting director. I went to my sales agent. What do you think? Casting director says she's brilliant. She can do that role. People won't think of her for that role.
Isn't that brilliant? So it's kind of going against type in a sense?
Going against type.
I've done that for mine too.
Yeah.
And it works every single time.
It does.
And the actors are so thrilled
Yep.
because usually they're getting what everybody thinks that they want or what they've got in the past, and nobody's thinking outside the box.
Exactly.
And the actors are beyond thrilled. Oh my God,
Exactly.
I'm so happy to hear you say that.
And then another way to think out of the box is also a movie I'm just finishing putting the development pieces together, and we'll go to casting next. And it has a very environmental green issues behind it that's driving the spine of the story. Again, extremely well written, great characters. So again, off goes my assistant. I want to know what actors are into green. What nonprofits they're supporting.
Very good.
So I'm going to, it's called a double bottom line. It's not just a great role. It's also hitting them where their passion and
where
vision
the heart is. I totally get it.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Yeah.
And then it'll also, this is me thinking now with the other, with the double business hat on, is it's also going to help in the future in terms of them wanting to help get the word out.
Exactly.
Because then their organizations will have lots and lots of places
so they've probably got 1 million people involved in their nonprofit. They're going to let them know about my movie. There's my fan base. That's how I begin the viral marketing.
Exactly.
There's a lot of key elements that come into play with stuff like that.
And getting back to the whole theme of this particular 12-tip series, it's about getting investors. If I'm an investor, Emery, and you're sharing that with me, I have now a comfort level that, oh my gosh, if nothing else happened, if you never got a sales agent or if you didn't, hell, I know that these are it's going to sell just through what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Through these organizations.
Even think that way about your investors.
Yeah.
They're going to have a triple bottom line in many cases, and you're going to want to understand what that is. One will be the return on investment. Money in, money out.
Yeah.
And why do you think it's going to come? Two, it could be one of these nonprofit issue-oriented things. It could be faith-based. It could be some kind of green-based, whatever. There might be some issue that. And third is, and this is what we did with the Minneapolis fundraising. We filmed in Minneapolis, so investors were realizing that their money was going to be spent there. There was key Hollywood talent that would come there, and so there's their third bottom line element is I'm supporting my community.
Isn't that fantastic, guys? That is so fantastic.
So you want to really do your homework on who your investors are sitting in that audience so you can speak from that space and answer their triple bottom lines.
Oh my God. You guys are getting, I hope you realize what you're this is like, we have one of the experts in the entertainment industry who's written books on this stuff, who teaches this stuff, who's the expert who also uses it on a day-to-day basis to make movies. So, oh my God, I am just so thrilled. And
one last tip.
Hello, I'm going to sit back here and give it to us.
There's something, and people may know this already, there's something that Variety puts out every year called Facts on Packs.
Okay.
And what it is they track for you every talent that has any kind of a deal at a studio. Mm-hmm. So that if there's an actor, a director, a producer, a writer that would be right for your project, here's what studios they have, and they have a production company. So it isn't like you're trying to get to the agent. And the agent's main thing is it set up? Is it financed? Is this an offer?
Yeah.
Because they're working on 10% contingency.
That's right. Catch-22. Yeah.
But if they have a production company, typically a production company's got somebody there that's the creative executive, head of development, acquisitions, that you can talk to and pitch your project to.
Brilliant.
And be able to get really key talent attached that way. So that's another way to come at that issue.
Oh, that's just fantastic. Oh my God. This has been a wealth of information. It's like, it makes me want to go out and start like raising the money like right now for my next film. This is so exciting. Very great. Anne-Marie, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
This has just been incredible. Guys, I know you've got a lot to think about this weekend and until next time we meet, because this has just been, like I said, a wealth of information, pardon the pun, wealth of information as we work on our film fund investing here. So next time is tip number 6, where we're going to talk about getting educated on state and provincial incentives and that sort of thing. So have a great week, and I will see you next time. I want to thank Anne-Marie again for being here, and I'll see you all next Friday.